Do you know that feeling when your mind just won't be quiet? One sentence, one look, one small trigger, and something inside you starts to move. You think and turn and ponder. You want to understand, you want to justify, you want to protect yourself, and before you know it, you're caught in your own thought carousel. The thought carousel isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that something inside you isn't understood, isn't held, isn't clarified. But what if you had the opportunity to become still, not to push the thoughts away, but to meet them with openness? Here begins the path we're talking about today. It's not a trick, not a method to outsmart you, but an honest invitation to get to know yourself with 4 simple, silent questions that you can ask yourself when you notice. There's a thought that keeps repeating itself. That hurts you. That makes you feel constricted. The first question is this true? You don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to have an immediate answer either. You can just observe. A thought pops up, I'm not good enough, or they disappointed me, or I'll never make it. And then you quietly ask yourself, maybe for the first time ever, is that really true? This question alone can already make a difference, because it doesn't question the thought itself. It only questions how closely you're merged with it. In the next part, I'll show you how this question is continued, and how it can bring you back from the thought loop into connection with yourself. When you're stuck in a thought carousel, everything feels tight. You quickly get the feeling that you're no longer in control, but in truth, you always have a choice. You can choose not to believe the thought immediately. You can examine it. And this isn't an intellectual exercise, but a path inward. After the first question, is this true, comes the second. Can I know with absolute certainty that this is true? This question adds depth, because maybe your first answer was a clear yes. But on closer inspection, when you become still, breathe, feel, you might realize, I'm not sure at all. I only believe it because it feels so familiar, or because I've always thought it. But absolute certainty, that often doesn't exist. And that's not a weakness, but a liberation, because you no longer have to automatically believe what comes up inside you. How do I react when I believe this thought? This is a very powerful invitation to self-observation, not to analyze, just to feel. What does this thought do to you? Do you constrict? Do you withdraw? Do you get angry, insecure, sad? And what happens to your body, your breath, your behavior towards others? This question brings you back to yourself, not into your head, but into your heart. You realize how much a single thought can throw you off balance, not because you're thinking wrong, but because you've never learned to look without judging. Here you'll find videos that gently remind you that you are not your thoughts. Who would I be without this thought? Here, a space opens up. You look at the same situation, but without the judgment, without the story, without the firm conviction. Maybe you feel freer, lighter. Maybe you become curious, open, calm, and maybe you realize the thought wasn't the truth. It was a perspective, and you can decide whether you want to continue following it. In the next part, we'll look at how this practice can accompany you in everyday life, without pressure, without perfection, but as a loving return to yourself. When you begin to apply the 4 questions in your everyday life, you'll notice it doesn't require a complicated technique, no special circumstances, just the willingness to pause for a moment. You can do this on the bus, at your desk, in conversation with another person, or just for yourself when you're lying awake at night and your mind won't quiet down. The power isn't in questioning correctly. The power lies in the looking itself, in the gentle curiosity. In the moment you realize, I'm not at the mercy of this. I can look at this thought, feel it, and decide whether I want to continue following it. Some thoughts are loud and intrusive. Others are subtle and familiar. I have to be perfect. I mustn't do this wrong. I should be further along than I am. When you become still, you feel. These thoughts are old. They carry fear within them, and that's okay. You don't have to get rid of them, but you can take away their truth. The more often you walk this path, the clearer you become. You no longer react automatically. You no longer need to get caught up in justifications or make yourself small. You become calmer, more expansive, more present. You can listen where you used to defend yourself. You can empathize where you used to close yourself off. And sometimes a single thought, lovingly questioned, is enough to dissolve a whole chain of inner tensions. Not because you're optimizing yourself, but because you're honest with yourself. You no longer react automatically. You no longer need to get caught up in justifications or make yourself small. You become calmer, more expansive, more present. You can listen where you used to defend yourself. You can empathize where you used to close yourself off. And sometimes a single thought, lovingly questioned, is enough to dissolve a whole chain of inner tensions. Not because you're optimizing yourself, but because you're honest with yourself. The 4 questions aren't a technique to avoid problems. They're a way to get to know yourself more deeply, to understand yourself, and to realize that you are more than what you think. Maybe right now is the moment to begin. Very gently, with a thought that keeps occupying you. What thought keeps coming up for you? And how would you feel if you questioned it today with an open heart? You don't have to solve it, not fight it. Just look at it, and maybe something new will arise from it. If you want to find out more about yourself and are looking for ways to go through life more relaxed and positive, subscribe to the channel. That would help you and me. Here, you'll find videos that gently remind you that you are not your thoughts, that you can choose what you believe, and that true freedom begins where you meet yourself, with stillness, curiosity, and compassion. Thank you for giving yourself this moment. Maybe this was the first step out of your thought carousel towards more inner clarity.